9 miles south of November Zulu Golf Yankee, 2700. Request flight following. Eagle November Zulu 107, Queenstown approach. Squawk 2666.
Hello.
2666. Eagle November Zulu 107. Radar contact 9 miles south of November Zulu Golf Yankee, 2500. QNH 101 tree. Roger. Eagle November Zulu 107.
Hello there. Just going for a fly down the Lake Wakatipu at the moment, and going to go visit one of the most nicest parts of New Zealand. The lake below us is Lake Wakatipu. We are about 40 kilometres northwest of Queenstown. The three islands actually, to our left here. This is Pig and Pigeon Island, and the small island is Tree Island. This way we look back down towards Queenstown. Queenstown Road follows along there, past the islands to the end. So over on this side you have the cables and the greenstone valleys. They lead up to the divide over at Milford Road. Quite popular for hiking. The Cables Valley is the one on the right, the greenstone is the one on the left. So Glenorchy is about a 45-minute drive from Queenstown. So if you're in Queenstown, well worth coming out here for a visit. Do a day trip. The drive along the road out to here is worth it in alone. This area just below us is the Waiuna subdivision, a private subdivision. Just to our left ahead is the Glenorchy Airport. It's a grass runway used by Skydive Southern Alps, and a few local pilots use it. Also services helicopters going to the resort next to it at Blanket Bay. Oops. So road there descends down to Blanket Bay Resort, a 5-star luxury resort just on the right on the lake's edge. The creek going across the road in front of us and out to the lake. This is the Buckler Burn, just at the entrance to the township of Glenorchy, which is right in front of us. So Glenorchy is a small tourism and farming community, getting larger all the time, new subdivisions being built. A lot of people these days come to Glenorchy to visit it, to visit the cafes, the bars, look at the beautiful scenery we're seeing today, do a couple of must-dos like visiting the Red Shed, which is down here on the waterfront, and the Glenorchy Wharf. They all must get the must-do photo with the Red Shed, which is a shed that used to service the steamships that came up here in the early 1900s. The Red Shed would normally be just here. Also the Glenorchy Walkway, which is in the Glenorchy Lagoon area, which is what's ahead of us now. Can be accessed from several places around town and do short walks in and around here. The viewpoint out here that are very popular for YouTubers and Instagrammers to take a picture down the valley this way where we're looking at the scenery. So we'll head up over here to our right. One activity to do in the Queenstown Glenorchy area is just outside town on the road heading up north is the Glenorchy Animal Experience, so you can go and pet sheep, cows, alpacas and feed them, and that's actually what's in this area just in front of us here. Right there. If you continue down this road, heads out towards Paradise, which we'll go show you what it is soon. I'll swing over here to the left. So just ahead of us is this large green mountain. This is Mount Alfred.
November Zulu 107 contact New Zealand Centre on 129er decimal tree. Good day. 129er decimal tree for Eagle November Zulu 107.
So Mount Alfred is positioned between the Rees River and the Dart River.
Eagle November, Zulu 107, New Zealand Centre, QNH 101 tree. Radar contact continue.
And this is the Rees River. And the Rees River Bridge is what's just below us now, coming up in front of us. If you drive from Glenorchy out to here and over this bridge, then you come to an intersection where you can just see just here. And the road goes in two directions. It turns to the left, goes around Mount Alfred, or it goes straight ahead onto the Paradise Road. One note, if you are driving out here, the Paradise Road is not tar sealed. This is gravel from this point onwards. The Prairie Road, which goes that way, that is tar sealed until the end of the Dart River Bridge. The creek down here, this is Diamond Creek, quite popular with fishermen. Comes down from Lake Diamond. farmland below us right now. This is Earnslaw Station, one of the large sheep and cattle stations within this area. So there's the Rees River ahead of us. Now the Rees River goes up one side of a bit large mountain. That mountain is this one. This is Mount Earnslaw. So Mount Earnslaw has the Rees River on the right hand side of it. It has the Dart River on the left hand side of it. Where the tree line is here at the base of Mount Earnslaw, this is the beginning of Mount Aspiring National Park on this side of it. And this lake just ahead of us, this is Diamond Lake. Now this green farmland on the other side of the lake, this stretches in the distance. So this is Arcadia Station. Arcadia being the Greek word for paradise. And of course this area is better known to people who visit it as Paradise. There's even a sign down here saying Paradise. This Arcadia Station and the Paradise Trust property beside it is most famous for the movie industry. You would have seen so many movies filmed at this location. Movies like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Wolverine X-Men Origins, the Narnia series, Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and Prince Caspian had both their scenes filmed here. Back in the 80s, you had Val Kilmer here doing the Willow movie. More recently, you had Taylor Swift doing her Out of the Woods music video here. The woods they used for that music video were these ones right here. Wolverine X-Men Origins, they built the farmhouse which exploded, actually just down below us in front of us just now. The Shapeshifter's house from The Hobbit was built just here as well. In the Prince Caspian Narnia movie, you see Prince Caspian being chased by his brother's henchmen across the river on horses here. This is the Dart River. So the road continues through Arcadia Station with Mount Aspiring trees on the right hand side. These are beech forests in this area, with the views of Mount Earnslaw to the left, to the right. When we leave the farmland and go into the forest, we're returning into Mount Aspiring National Park. You'll see where the road enters the trees just here. This road actually has several water crossings. Depending on the rainfall, it could be passable or not passable. Most of the time it's usually generally four-wheel drive only access from out here onwards. Now we'll head along here and we'll come into another clearing. So this clearing just ahead of us This is Dan's paddock. Another location for scenes of Lord of the Rings to be filmed. First movie, you actually see Gandalf galloping his horse through here when he's on his way to Isengard. After Dan's paddock, the road continues on to a location called Chinaman's Bluff, which is the very end of this road. So we'll go down to Chinaman's Bluff and then we'll turn back down the valley. And yeah, just ahead of us here is the Chinaman's Bluff turnaround, the car park, which is the end of the Paradise Road. But if you wanted to go further and got your backpack and tent, the Dartrees track starts here and finishes here. The Dartrees walking track goes around the back of Mount Earnslaw and back down the Rees Valley as a loop. So this is the Dart River Delta. Dart River is a braided river. As you'll notice, most of it is shingle with small channels flowing through it. Best boats to travel through this area is by jet boat. Jet boats can travel in very shallow water. Dart River jet boats, they run tours up this river. So just over this crest, we're going to come to a small lake. This is Lake Sylvian. There is a walking track comes up to it from the Lake Sylvian Department of Conservation camping ground. Another popular activity in this area is horse trekking. People come up here by shuttle from Queenstown and spend an hour or 2 hours or multiple days up here horse trekking. High country horses or light horse adventures both run trips around the Glenorchy area. And during the summer months, another very popular activity here is hiking. And some of New Zealand's best walks are in this area, including one of its great walks that starts just up the valley here. So you might be familiar with the Routeburn track. Famous 32 kilometre long great walk. It starts here and finishes on the Milford Road. The farmland ahead of us, this is Routeburn Station. This stays on the right hand side of Dart River all the way down here to the bridge. But if you wanted to walk the Routeburn track, let's go have a look and see what we can see. What we're turning into here is the Routeburn Valley. So you drive your car up here about half an hour's drive from Glenorchy. It's a gravel road after the bridge. And you get up here to a place called the Shelter, which is this end of the Routeburn track. park your car, and then just quickly walk 32 kilometres over these mountains to the other end. You book huts during the Great Walk season, and you can stay in 3 huts and do it over 3 or 4 days. So the route burn shelter is this facility just down here. There's buildings and the car parks there. And then there's a bridge goes over this way, and the track carries on the right hand side of the river. Just down here is the old beginning of the track, replaced when they built the new buildings. So the route burn track follows the river up here, crosses over the river in several places by swing bridges. Like just here, but I don't know whether they've got swing bridges on the PS5 system. Probably not as obvious that they normally would be. And then people walk up here and climb their way up slowly into the higher valleys. So we'll climb our way up into the Root Burn Valley, and I'll point out some other things up here. So if anyone's interested in doing the Root Burn track, this will give you a bit of an idea. So going up along here, the track is mostly on the left-hand side, keeping in against the cliffs. Especially once we come out into this big green area ahead of us. These are the Root Burn Flats. So one of the walking huts, track huts, is Root Burn Flats, which is about 2 hours walk from the shelter. It is at the end of this part here, just before it starts to climb up the hill again. So the hut just sits in the valley beside the river. Off to our right is another valley. This is the northern valley of the Root Burn. The Root Burn huts would normally just be just down here, but from there you climb up a track heading up the hill here. This is where you really start to get tired legs as you climb up here, because you've got another hour to climb up to the next hut. And it's a bit hard to make out, but just down here would normally be Paul's huts, so they'll be just up here at the top. There we go, there's the Department of Conservation and the Ultimate Hikes Guided Walks huts just down here. Then if you leave there on your second day, climb up the rocky area here, up onto this next plateau. Track would carry up here, keeping to the left of the river. You can see the track in the quite clearly marked out. Good to see on the PlayStation, you can even see the Root Burn track clearly. You see as it winds its way along here, lots of rocky steps areas, climbs up here. When it gets through just around this area, it's actually the avalanche area. It's a difficult area in winter. And then we come to Lake Harris. Beautiful big lake up here. But the track turns at this point. But off to that side is the Valley of the Trolls, which is another interesting area. Just down here is the Root Burn shelters. So you can have an emergency stop there before you continue down. The other thing is we've just entered Fiordland National Park. So when you go through the Harris Saddle we've just gone through, you go from Fiordland Mount Aspiring National Park and have now entered Fiordland National Park. You come over the mountain. Just down here is the Hollyford Valley. Goes right out to the Tasman Sea down that way. Works all the way up here to the divide. So if you're working the Rootburn track, you're following the track along here, as you can see the white mark. The next hut on the Rootburn track is actually just over this ridge in a valley. This valley is the Mackenzie Basin, formed by a hanging glacier. The climb up from the hut up to this point, this here is Ocean Corner. There's quite a steep climb, as you'll see. So you've got to come up beside the hill there, a zigzag. Down here below us, just where the nose is about now, is where the dock, whoops, a bit further over, you just see the buildings there, Department of Conservation hut at Lake Mackenzie. So this is beautiful views around Fiordland National Park, which is a dual an SQ rated national park. So the Rootburn track carries along this tree line here, heading in this direction. And the track goes past Eland Falls. I don't know if we can quite see them here, they don't stand out that much. And then once you go past Eland Falls, it goes down to the right to a lake. So just where the nose is there is a lake, that is Lake Howden. Originally there was a hut there until it was just wrecked during a flood in 2020. Where the nose is now, that is Key Summit, a popular walk from the Milford Road. So this valley here where the nose is, that's the Greenstone Valley that we saw earlier. This other valley with the lakes, those are Lake Gunn. That is heading down towards Yarnow, that's Islington Valley. So if you came up the Islington Valley, around this corner at the divide, not going down the Hollyford, but instead go up this valley, you go to Milford Sound. And this over here, this is Lake Marion, a popular walking track from the Hollyford Road down there and walk up to Lake Marion, another one formed by a hanging glacier valley. These are all glacier valleys formed by the Hollyford Glacier. So we'll head down to Lake Yarnow and Yarnow Township. So if you're going to Milford Sound, you'd go up that valley, over those mountains, down to Milford Sound. So we'll carry on down to Islington Valley. The Divide car park is just down there where that clearing is. That's the other end of the Rootburn track. So just where our nose is now, that is Lake Gunn. One thing this area is known for around Lake Gunn and Islington Valley is New Zealand's only species of mammal. Two of them are found in this area. The long and the short-tailed bats, both found populations within this area that are protected. A lot of people from overseas don't know that New Zealand has only one species of native mammal, and that is the bat. So if you're driving through to Milford Sound, you would come up this road, which is on the left-hand side of the lake here. This is State Highway 94, the Milford Road, where there's viewpoints to stop at Lake Gun. From Te Anau to Milford is about a 2-hour drive. Queenstown to Te Anau, another 2-hour drive, so a 4-hour drive through to Milford Sound. Then you spend 2 hours on a boat going around Milford Sound, and then another 4 hours back. Which is why, if you don't want to do a long drive, take the bus. Or if you're driving, stop in Te Anau on the way through. There are Department of Conservation camping grounds along the Islington Valley. Islington Valley, named after Lord Islington. Another camping area further down this way is Nobbs Flat. Used to be a camp for the workers when they were building the Milford Road. Now turned into basic accommodation facilities, and there's also a toilet block there for the tour buses and people travelling the Milford Road. There are stops within the Islington Valley where you can stop and take beautiful photos down the valley. Now this type of scenery. Which is crazy enough, we're playing a computer console game on PlayStation 5, looking at that same beautiful scenery. There's actually a team of about 25 people that look after this road. Their job is specifically caring for this road. They're based in Te Anau and they're called the Milford Road Alliance. If you're on the Milford Road, you'll see their bright yellow trucks going up and down the road. So this game gives us the chance to have live weather and timing. That's why it's getting dark, because the sun is setting. It is late afternoon. So it's 7:46 here in New Zealand. That is 7:46 p.m. This is daylight savings time of the year, and it's also summer, so we have longer daylight hours at this time of the year, which is why at this time it's still daylight. And it is summer. And New Zealand, as far as time goes, most of the rest of the world is behind us as far as time. So places like Europe, England, America, they're 12 to 24 hours behind us as far as time goes. So if it's 7:30 at night here, it's probably around 7:30 in the morning in England. We are one of the first countries to see the sunrise in the morning. And at New Year's Eve, we see New Year's Eve before the rest of the world does. If you go further east across the Pacific, you get the international date line. The other side of the date line, yep, different time zone. So this area we're in now, as far as the maps go, we are about at 45 degrees south in latitude. There is actually a sign on this road that tells you exactly when you're going across the 45 degrees latitude. Another very popular stopping spot on the Milford Road that all the tour buses and cars line up to get a parking space for. And it's just down here. It's what's known as the Mirror Lakes. So what you get with these lakes, they're so still that you get the reflection of everything around them in the lake. They stand there looking at that lake, you see the reflection of these mountains and the lakes. That's why they call them the Mirror Lakes. Yeah, people ask me how good are the graphics on Microsoft Flight Simulator on PS5. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I don't know about you. And no, it's not absolutely perfect, but you got to remember we're talking about a games console here. What other video games can you fly anywhere in the world at any time? Well, they're accurate enough that I can recognise every single part of this. Well, there's a few people driving up and down the Milford Road today. So we're coming out of the Islington Valley and we're going to head out towards Lake Tiana, which you can just see in the very distance. We'll see it a lot clearer when we get out there. The Islington Valley we're following flows out into Lake Tiana. Lake Tiana is New Zealand's second largest lake. And on volume, technically it is actually larger than Lake Taupo. Just a Lake Taupo on area size is larger. So you see here where it goes on the left, where it goes from the trees into the open. We're now entering the farmland. This is Tiana Down Station. You can see the hay shed just down here. So normally if you're driving down the Milford Road, you'll see a Welcome to Fiordland National Park sign just down here. Tiana Down Station is a very large beef and sheep farm that covers most areas you can see. Driving down the Milford Road, you often have to wait for the Tiana Down sheep to cross the road or follow them down the road. So you might be stuck in a traffic jam behind 1,000 sheep. The easiest ways for the farmers to move their stock between these paddocks is to just drive them down the road. And yeah, here's Lake Tiana in front of us. At the very northern end of Lake Tiana is the beginning of the Milford Track, one of the most famous walking tracks in the world that goes from here over to Milford Sound through these mountains. Another one of New Zealand's great walks. So we'll follow the Milford Road, continuing down towards down Tiana Township. And I'll point out another thing just along the road here. Actually, I'll just duck over here for a second and show you something. So straight ahead of us, just above the nose, is a couple of buildings. These are the facilities for Tianao Downs Station. They're shearing sheds and yards. This was just where the nose is now. As I said, this farm is huge. Yeah, but driving this road, this is usually about where you start to get cell phone coverage. Bit better now that they actually put cell towers on the Milford Road. So down ahead of us is this little curved bay. And there's a sweeping bend down here. This is a boat dock. This is the Tianao Downs Wharf, where the boats going to the beginning of the Milford track leave from. So you leave here by boat, and there's a 45-minute trip to the beginning of the Milford track. So that's what the facilities are down there, the boat dock for the Milford Sound. The buildings over here are Fjordland Lodge, or Fjordland National Park Lodge, just recently under new ownership.